Welcome to Aging Insight with your host, John Ross and Lisa Scholmeyer. This program is made possible by
Welcome everyone to Aging Insight. I'm Lisa Scholmeyer. I'm here with John Ross. We are elder law attorneys, and the Aging Insight program is a way for us to bring you information right into your homes, which we hope that you can use and think about once some of these issues that we talk about on Aging Insight might come into your world. So we hope you get something out of it. And today we want to talk about some things that you may be able to share with your family and friends that is really very important, but it probably hits a demographic or folks that are a little younger than our usual talks.
Yeah, I get two common comments when people come in to see us. They know they're coming in to see, they've said, somebody has told them you ought to go see an elder law attorney. And so they come in. And either first, they look at me funny because they say, I thought I was meeting with an elder attorney. Right.
and you don't look quite as old as an elder.
Apparently I don't qualify. So, but yeah, so elder law is not about the lawyer. It's not old lawyers doing law. It's a type of law. But then that kind of brings in the other thing is that a lot of times we'll go out, we'll give these presentations and we do these seminars and different things. And people will inevitably, they'll say, well, John, Lisa, how old do I need to be to go see an elder law attorney?
Right. How old do I need to be your client? And we get that.
Yeah, and I give the same answer every time. 18.
18. Now, is that what you were thinking? Probably not. So why don't we explain that, John?
Yeah, because what does an elder law attorney do? We try to avoid institutionalized care. We try to maintain independence, and we try to avoid having people spend a bunch of money unnecessarily when there are better ways that you can protect yourself and protect the people you love. And all of these issues come into play when you have things like disability, physical disability, mental disabilities, and these sort of things.
Right, and usually we talk about those in the sense of folks as we get older that we're more likely to encounter those physical disabilities or cognitive issues because that just really kind of comes a lot with the territory for aging. And if we're blessed with a long life, then we may encounter some of those things along the way. But one thing about life that I'm sure is that you really can't count on it not bringing you some surprises. And that is true whether you're 88 or 18. And so, our program here on Aging Insight, we focus on adults and the decisions that adults need to make for themselves. Well, under the law, an adult is someone who is 18 years of age or older. So is it possible, John, for young adults to encounter some of these same issues?
Absolutely. And oftentimes when I give some of these speeches, one of the things that I'll point out is, because often, if I'm talking to a group of older people, many of them have either had parents in nursing homes or they have friends or loved ones in nursing homes. But in any case, they've had occasion to walk through a nursing home. And I'll say, remember back when you walked through that nursing home and remember all of the older people that you saw, but then remember that young person.
Yes.
That 19-year-old, that 20-year-old that was in a car wreck, that got some illness that was unexpected that caused brain damage, or something like that. And so the same issues that people think of oftentimes as older people problems, those can just as easily be younger people problems. But I bet not too many people out there, although legally an 18-year-old is an adult.
Legally.
Legally. But not in really many other cases.
In reality, many of those 18-year-olds, I mean, many of our 18-year-olds are still dependent upon their parents for financial support. They are dependent upon their parents for their health insurance. They are dependent upon their parents for guidance and, you know, assistance. So really, for many young adults, whether they're 17 or 19, hasn't really made that much difference. You can't look on their situation from the outside and see any difference. In this case, 18 is just a number that the law has determined makes you an adult. But you know, John, one of the things we see over and over again is that 19-year-old who is dependent on mom and dad
Absolutely.
For everything, really. And maybe they're a full-time student, maybe they're a part-time student and they're working.
Maybe they just live in the basement.
Maybe they just still live at home and pick up odd jobs, but yet they're still dependent on mom and dad financially, medically, all of that. And but what happens when that 19-year-old encounters a health crisis or a financial crisis? And what can mom and dad legally do to assist?
Right, and this could come in lots of different forms. And we, you know, if you've watched the show before, if you've ever heard one of us give a presentation, you've heard of us say that there are a few things that everybody ought to have in place. And when I say that to a group of people who, all of which are 55 and above, everybody assumes that I'm talking to them and to people like them when I say everybody ought to have these 4 things in place. But that's not what, I'm not narrowing it down. When I say everybody, I mean everybody from age 18 on. Everybody who's over the age of 18 ought to have a few basic things in place. But why don't we wait until we take this break, and then we'll talk about what those, a little teaser until after the break.
Yeah.
So stick with us, and we'll be back in just a second, and we'll talk about what you need to get in place for that 18-year-old.
Hi there, I'm Larry Sims. It's been my privilege for the past several years to be a volunteer board member of Hospice of Texarkana, and there I'm able to represent community members like you. We continually customize our end-of-life care to better meet the needs of our community. As an example, our medical director and nurse practitioner still make visits to homes and facilities. Call today to learn more about the help we can give your family. Hospice of Texarkana, the nonprofit hospice established in 1985 for the community, by the community.
As things get older, they require more care. This car and I have seen a lot of miles together, but because I take care of her, she runs just like she did in 1955. That's why I chose the Wadley Senior Clinic, with an individualized care plan designed just for me and a convenient location off Jefferson Avenue. They have everything to keep me running like new. It's not about the miles, it's about the journey. Let the Wadley Senior Clinic keep you happy, healthy, and cruising down the road of life.
Welcome back to Aging Insight. I'm Lisa Scholmeyer here with John Ross, and today we're talking about maybe some of your younger family members and some things that they ought to consider, and you know, maybe you can be that wise advisor that could let them know. But you know, John, I want to kind of talk about a scenario, and this might feel a little realistic.
Okay. I'm in.
Okay. You know, so let's say that we have a 19-year-old
Okay.
who has been fortunate enough to get accepted and go down to College Station to Texas A&M University. Or maybe they're off at Fayetteville at the University of Arkansas.
Oh, yeah, don't want to offend anybody.
That's right. But, you know, so we have that student, bright future ahead. They have an apartment off campus, and their mode of transportation involves a motorcycle or a scooter, and they are making their way to class.
Yeah, if you've never been to College Station, that's a big campus.
Yes, you don't just walk across it.
You just don't walk across that campus, and if you want to be on time. So if you want to be on time, you need some transportation.
Right.
You could either pedal there, or if you had a little money that you'd made during high school that you needed someplace to spend, maybe you buy a little motorcycle.
Maybe you buy a little motorcycle. So, and let's say you're headed to class, you're not in any particular rush, you are driving your motorcycle and you are observing all of the proper traffic,
of course,
you know, traffic lights and whatnot, but yet a vehicle doesn't see you on the motorcycle, and the college student is hit, laying out in the median, having been ejected from the bike. Some bystander calls 911. There's an ambulance that comes and takes the student to the emergency room, and luckily one of the student's friends was nearby and happens to have the student's parents' phone number, calls the parents to say there's been an accident. You know, they've taken your child to the hospital, and the parents then began a frantic, you know, information gathering about what is going on.
Right.
So what are the hurdles that that parent is going to face?
Well, you know, we can start with, we've got some immediate things here. We've got medical decision making that has to happen right now. And if we're talking about somebody who, where this young student maybe is unconscious, he cannot or she cannot make their decisions for themselves. So somebody needs to be able to talk to the doctors and things like that. Maybe you've experienced where you've called, you know, maybe you've got a friend and that friend is up at the hospital. And you know they're up at the hospital, you just don't know which room they're in. And so you call up to the office, you call the hospital, call their little 1-800 number, you get the receptionist and you say, hey, my best friend in the whole world, Larry, was admitted to the hospital. Can you tell me what room he's in? I'd like to come and see him. And you'll figure out real fast that they won't talk to you. They'll tell you very quickly that, I'm sorry, we cannot disclose even the existence of a person at the hospital. Right. Even disclosing whether or not that person is in the hospital would be a violation of the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, better known as HIPAA.
Right. So, you know, in the situation we're talking about, when we have that college student that's been in that accident, you know, there's no question that this college student is completely financially dependent on mom and dad, that college student is carrying a health insurance card that has them on their parents' health insurance. But the parents trying to call the hospital that the child has been taken to, or the young adult, I should say, you know, that hospital can give out no information. And what the parent always says to the person on the hospital employee is, well, my goodness, you better give me information because I'm going to be the one that's going to end up paying the bill, or it's my insurance the child is on, so you should give me information. And that's not a winning argument. The bottom line is hospital privacy laws require that all adults, persons 18 and older, be given total medical privacy without written consent otherwise. So, you know, we have a student who's had this accident who is not in any position to give consent. Those parents are not getting any information about the immediate condition of their child, or about any of the medical decisions that need to be made. And, you know, if those parents are hours away, you know, then they are in a frantic state.
Right. And you know, in addition to the medical information and just knowing what's going on, but then you roll into the next realm of all of this, which is, let's say that after some X-rays of our young man who was in this motorcycle wreck, they have determined that he has broken an arm. Now, a broken arm is not a life-threatening injury.
Typically not.
Typically not, and we'll say that this one is not. It's just a break, but it's a small break. It's not a life-threatening injury. But they've still got the child unconscious. So he still cannot make decisions related to, he can't consent to the treatment of that broken arm because he's just unconscious. He can't do it. But the law says that a parent, in this case, could make an emergency medical decision for a child.
Even an adult
even
child.
an adult child, if it's a life-threatening situation. But this is not a life-threatening situation. And so here now we've got a situation where there are medical decisions that need to be made, and the parents do not have the ability to make those decisions. They need to consent to treatment. Maybe they need to fill prescriptions. Maybe they need to do any number of things, transfer their child out of the hospital and have them admitted into an acute care rehab facility. But there's again, more medical treatment consent forms that have to be signed. And so all of that sort of thing boils down to, we have an 18-year-old child, and even though they are completely dependent on everybody else, they still need a medical power of attorney and a HIPAA release.
Right, and so that medical power of attorney, every 18-year-old should sign a medical power of attorney that if that young adult is clearly still essentially a child to his or her parents, that 18-year-old needs to sign a medical power of attorney giving the persons of his choosing, presumably the parents, the ability to make medical decisions and give consents in the event that that child is unconscious. And in addition, that child needs to sign a HIPAA release or a medical information release so that the parent can always get medical information about that child. You know, so in our example, John, in this accident scene, if the parents had a medical power of attorney and a HIPAA release, they can get immediate updates about the condition of their child to make sure that, you know, that's not life-threatening, that we're not in, you know, and they could also give consents to administration of pain medication, maybe surgery to set that arm, and whatever else is necessary to consent to medical treatment without, you know, further delay.
Right. Now, real quickly, let me set up our next little problem here. Because, so after the accident, a couple of weeks goes by, and mom and dad are sitting at home, and they get a bill from the hospital where they have, you know, they've tried to bill Blue Cross Blue Shield or whoever their insurance company is, and Blue Cross Blue Shield has denied, saying that they are not going to pay for this particular injury. And the parents are saying, well, that's why we have health insurance. They're supposed to be paying for these sort of things. And so the parents, now let's be clear about this. The parents are calling their own insurance company about a policy that they are paying for, that in that policy covers their dependent child.
Their dependent adult child, yes.
And when they call to ask about that bill, Blue Cross Blue Shield's going to hang up on them.
Won't talk to them.
Won't talk to them. That's an adult. And nobody can deal with that child's health insurance but him, unless he has given authority. And so now we're talking about a financial issue. So we're going to take one more break, and we're going to keep talking about, because now we've got financial issues, and then we've got college issues.
College issues,
and stuff. So
yes.
there's more issues to come. So stick around. We'll be right back.
As things get older, they require more care. This car and I have seen a lot of miles together, but because I take care of her, she runs just like she did in 1955. That's why I chose the Wadley Senior Clinic, with an individualized care plan designed just for me and a convenient location off Jefferson Avenue. They have everything to keep me running like new. It's not about the miles, it's about the journey. Let the Wadley Senior Clinic keep you happy, healthy, and cruising down the road of life.
Hi there, I'm Larry Sims. It's been my privilege for the past several years to be a volunteer board member of Hospice of Texarkana, and there I'm able to represent community members like you. We continually customize our end-of-life care to better meet the needs of our community. As an example, our medical director and nurse practitioner still make visits to homes and facilities. Call today to learn more about the help we can give your family. Hospice of Texarkana, the nonprofit hospice established in 1985 for the community, by the community.
Welcome back to Aging Insight, everybody. I'm your host, John Ross, here with my co-host, Lisa Scholmeyer, and today we are talking about elder law for college students. And not really just college students, but really anybody over the age of 18. And people don't think about stuff for 18-year-olds, even 18-year-olds.
Of course, especially
18-year-olds. They're invincible, so they can never be hurt in their own minds.
That's right.
But that's the beauty of being real adults, is that we know better. And so we can encourage them and explain to them that if they have a medical crisis, somebody's going to have to make medical decisions, and you've got to have a medical power of attorney and a HIPAA release in order to make those medical decisions. So that's the first thing. But then we kind of left off there at the break about talking about, well, what about the business decision of, you know, dealing with the insurance company? You know, we've got a billing issue that needs to be resolved. And I bet that child opened up a little bank account at the Aggie Credit Union right outside of the campus there at A&M.
Well, and I bet that child, you know, if this accident happened late in the spring semester, I bet it's time to re-up the lease on that apartment. And, you know, if you don't re-up in the timeline given, you know, there's plenty of other students clamoring for that spot. And so if the child is unable to re-up that lease, you know, the parent might need to step in again and take care of the business of the child and sign those leases. So that child will need a financial power of attorney as well, where the parents are selected as agents to assist that child in conducting financial and business arrangements on that child's behalf. So we have these three documents that an 18, 19, you know, a young adult needs: healthcare power of attorney, HIPAA information release, and a financial power of attorney. But there's one document that's very particular to college students that I think parents will definitely want to make sure they have. And that document has to do with getting information about the child's educational progress. Now, John, you know, what happens, you know, does the child, that college student, when the parent asks, hey, how are your classes going? Have you been going to class? What are your grades at midterm? Is that child always answer honestly about those things?
You know, no.
Yes.
Yeah, the short answer is no. And you know, maybe your kid doesn't have any of these financial problems or these medical problems that we've described, but maybe you just want to keep a little tab on. Make sure you're getting your money's worth with that tuition check you've been writing.
Well, and in fact, isn't that what happened? You know, a parent may call the registrar's office to check on those midterm grades, and the parent asks, you know, I'm checking on the grades of my child, and you know, the parent can rattle off the social security number and date of birth. And is the college registrar going to tell that parent what the grades are?
No, not in any way, shape, or form. And as the son of two college professors, who constantly dealt with parents calling them at the end of the semester saying, why did my son fail? The first thing out of their mouth is, I'm sorry, I can't discuss that with you because of something called the Family Educational Privacy Rights Act, or FERPA. FERPA. Yes. And FERPA is a federal law that says that the educational information that is contained in that university about that student is private to that student.
Now, John, the first thing that parent is going to say when they call to talk to that registrar or that professor,
I think we've been down this road again,
is, well, you better tell me because I'm the one that signs the checks that pay for the tuition at your institution. So now tell me what junior's grades are. And what's the answer of the administrative? Right.
It's still no.
It doesn't matter that you write the checks that pay the tuition that allow that student to take classes at that school or university. Federal law still prohibits you as the parent from getting educational information unless the child, that adult student, has signed a FERPA release, which allows that named parent to get information that's contained in those educational records.
And it's not just educational records, but it's anything that went on during that student's time at the university. There's been a lot of news recently about sexual assault on campus and things like that.
Yeah, whether if that child has sought counseling at the university student health center, if that child's been involved in any disciplinary issues on campus.
Student investigations about the student, all of those things are governed under that FERPA law.
Right.
And so yes, you need specifically when you're talking about heading off to college, that kid needs a general durable power of attorney so somebody can handle their business, a medical power of attorney so somebody can make medical decisions, a HIPAA release so somebody can access medical records, and the one thing that's not needed by our elderly clients, a FERPA release, so that the parents or whoever it is can access those college records. So a whole nother category there.
Well, and you know, John, you know, that 18, 19-year-old young adult, they don't have to sign those type of releases. They are adults. But, you know, frankly, if you control the purse strings, I bet you can encourage that young adult in your life to sign those documents.
Yeah, it seems like at some point in time in my life, somebody said, he who does the paying does the saying. Yeah. And we'll stick with that.
Yeah, so make sure if you've got a college student in your family that you share with them and their parents that they need to think about getting these documents in place.
That's right. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us for this week's Aging Insight program with John Ross and Lisa Scholmeyer. This program is made possible by